Welcome to the land of bourbon and bad decisions. This is the Relentless Daring Podcast. I'm your host, Howard Morgan, and here we are engaged in the relentless, daring pursuit of truth, justice, and American jackassery. I've got kind of a mixed bag of things for you today. Crime in space. Look at what happens if you post pictures on social media of hunting African big game. And let's see what I have to look at my list here. And oh yes, celebrities. Gotta love celebrities. So yeah, it's gonna be a fun one. So without further ado, let's get into it. All right, so one of the big things going on here lately in the news is all the celebrities been coming out and talking about, endorsing everyone who is not Donald Trump. No real shocker there. Celebrities are more than likely to identify as progressive or liberal if they're deluding themselves. But a lot of times they will go out of their way to not, step in it. There's plenty of celebrities out there you can presume based off the opinions they espouse, what side of the political spectrum they fall on. Then there's the ones who come right out and say it, the activist class, if you will. Well, during the 2018 midterms, pop star Taylor Swift decided right at the end of her tour that she was going to come out and endorse the guy who was running against Marsha Blackburn in Tennessee for the Senate. And I respect her reasons for staying hush on the issue. At the time, her mom was going through cancer treatments, and she really didn't want her to have to deal with the stress of, being attacked because, oh my God, your daughter's a liberal or whatever. Although recently, her dad had to pull down a bunch of conservative memes, and I think he just straight up shut down his social media because, oh my God, he shared conservative memes. And so in that process, she's really come out and just really dove straight into the left as, well, I am pro-women's health and pro-choice because I believe the only way a woman can get by in this world is if she has the right to kill her own babies.
No, you look like an idiot.
Yeah. And she's not the only one. Was it Alyssa Milano? The girl from Commando in 1980 whatever with Arnold Schwarzenegger. She came out and talking about, if I hadn't had my 2 abortions way back in the 90s, I wouldn't be where I am today. Well, you know what? This is a little sidetrack. There's lots of people who had unplanned pregnancies, and they had the babies. And guess what? Between you and me, they're quite successful. But, that's just an aside. But getting back into the story, this is a Fox News story. Headline, Taylor Swift pledges to, quote, do everything I can for 2020 election. We're a democracy. No, No, we're not. We are not a democracy. We have never been a democracy, and I pray to God that we never become one. We are a republic. But anyways, old T Swift, an interview. Oh, it was with The Guardian. She did this interview. The 29-year-old singer-songwriter spoke about her stance on abortion, how she thinks President Trump is tearing the country apart. And I'm not going to let Donald Trump shoulder all the blame. The news media, stupid celebrities who think they know what they're talking about. You and me, the regular person who lets themselves get all worked up and in a tizzy over every little freaking thing that comes across the Facebook or the Twitter feeds, and oh my God, did you see what so-and-so said about that? Oh God, I'm going to rip them apart. It happens. We're all equally guilty of tearing the country apart, whether we want to admit it or not. We all jump in our little outrage mobs and go out and raise hell about whoever said what, and go out there, we got to own those libs, or whatever the liberals say about, smashing the right. They're punching Nazis in the face, even if they're just presumed Nazis and no actual evidence of anyone, worshiping the cult of Zig Heil and all that garbage. But anyways, going back to the story, Taylor Swift in an interview said, quote, "We're a democracy. At least we're supposed to be. Where you're allowed to disagree, dissent, debate. I really think that," referring to Donald Trump, "thinks this is an autocracy." And that's going to close that quote out. First of all, it's not an autocracy. I don't think Trump thinks this is an autocracy. Granted, there's those who look at what he said the other day when talking about his trade war with China, and he raises his hands up and looks up to the sky and says, "I'm the chosen one." And everyone lost their damn minds. As much as people would like to think that Donald Trump is a complete and total blithering idiot, a dotard, I believe is the word that was used by Kim Jong-un, aka little fat bastard. But you have the Donald Trump who's the idiot. Oh my God, he said that he's the chosen one. He referenced that he was picked by God to fight China on the economic battlefield. How dare he? Oh my God, get over yourself. And then you have the people who think that he's just an evil, megalomaniacal. He would have to be a genius, because he's just so evil, and that's the reason why he's able to do all this evil stuff, is because he's just so damn evil all the time. What is it? Is he a blithering idiot who couldn't find his way out of a wet paper bag with a baseball bat and written directions? Or is he Ernst Stavro Blofeld from the James Bond movies from the 60s and 70s, stroking his cat? "No, Mr. Bond, I expect you to die." Yes, I know. It was Augustus Goldfinger who said that, and I know I'm mixing my Bond references. Leave me alone. It is 11 o'clock at night. I have 2 additional teenage girls in my house, and they're driving me crazy. You would be going crazy too if you had all those girls. But anyways, I digress. But yeah, so T Swift thinks that she thinks that Donald Trump thinks that this is an autocracy, because how dare he say, I'm the chosen one. What I say goes. Well, I hate to tell you, T Swift, but the last guy who was in the office, the guy who said, I have a phone and a pen and I'm not afraid to use them. But Donald Trump thinks we are an autocracy. Okay. We have candidates on the Democratic side who are threatening executive action that goes against the Second Amendment if Congress will not act within the first 100 days. But Donald Trump thinks that this is an autocracy and that he can decide who gets what rights when. What laws he's going to manifest. If this was an autocracy, I'm pretty sure that we would be at a 14% federal corporate tax rate and a 15% across the board personal income tax rate if this was an autocracy. I don't know if Donald Trump would go down that low on those. But, if this was an autocracy, he'd just say and make it happen. Oh, sorry, I'm having some sinus issues. The weather's been crazy here in Missouri lately, and so my sinuses don't know if it wants to be dealing with, hot and muggy, need a scuba tank to go outside and do anything air, or if it's going to be cooler, drier air. So I'm all stopped up upstairs. So sorry, but yeah, it's like this happens all the time, where celebrities or everyone on the left, and it happens on the right. I'm not going to exclude this side of the aisle because I would be remiss if I didn't call out the people that I agree with who ignore the crap Donald Trump says, ignore the crap that George Bush did, and point to Obama, or point to Clinton, or to any of the current field of 98,000 Democratic presidential hopefuls, and they call out their bullcrap, but ignore everything else on our side. Earlier this week, one of the Koch brothers passed away. Was it David Koch, I believe? Yeah, it was David Koch. He passed away. And, the firestorm of hashtag Koch dead. And, he was an evil conservative. I replied to some of these. I'm like, really? Huh? So, since when does being a progressive Republican who believes in things like, open borders, for one, and some other progressive causes, I think they dumped a lot of money into Planned Parenthood and stuff. I really don't know. But I know there's progressive causes they also supported. But, they supported progressive causes, but suddenly they're conservatives? No. That's like saying John McCain or Jeff Flake were conservatives. No. There's nothing conservative about them other than the fact that they throw money at Republicans because, in the grand scheme of things, they believe that the Republicans are more likely to get the things done that they want done than the Democrats. And so that's how the corporate world works when it comes to figuring out who that they're going to donate to. Donald Trump, one of the reasons why I wasn't sure about him in 2016, and honestly, I'm still not sure about him. One of the things that kept me from being able to pull the lever for him was the fact that, well, to get things done, you have to donate to whoever's in power. If it's a Republican, you give them money and you grease the wheels through them. If it's Democrats, like 90% of offices held in New York City and the state, and at the state level and at the federal level of New York State, that means donating to Democrats. You do what you have to do. The ends justify the means. Get a little Saul Alinsky when it comes to figuring out who you're going to give money to. And in all this interview, Taylor Swift went on to talk about how, we're supposed to be a democracy and, dissent and debate. But at the same time, we're supposed to have dissent and debate, but she can't believe this is happening, referencing newly enacted laws restricting abortions in states like Alabama, Georgia, and Mississippi. Wait, we're supposed to have dissent and debate? Are we not allowed to have representation that decides, we think life begins here, and so we're going to pass a law protecting life from this point forward? That seems reasonable. I mean, it was debated. It was discussed. It was voted on. It may have been a party line vote. I mean, in Louisiana, they have a Democrat governor who he signed one of these heartbeat bills. Oh my God. A Democrat parted ways from the rest of the party. Yeah, he's probably going to get primaried. I mean, he took his political life into his own hands in that decision. But good on him for actually having a backbone and taking a stand. That's freaking brilliant. But again, celebrities are so dumb. And, and we have celebrities. Well, you really don't hear a lot of stuff like this from celebrities on the right because Hollywood, Nashville, wherever their seat of celebrity is at, they tends to lead left. So you never really hear a whole lot from people like John Voight. And when he does, it's huge. Everyone, and there's some people, Uncle Ted, the Nuge, he's the Donald Trump of Republican celebrities, and he really needs to dial it back a lot. I mean, he once referred to carrying a gun on the ranch in case of coyotes, and then referred to Democrats as coyotes and how you need to take coyotes out whenever possible. Yeah, buddy, you might want to tone the rhetoric back a lot. But yeah, Chris Pratt, you see stuff from him on occasion, like when he's accepting awards in front of a bunch of kids and he just blurts out something Christian and conservative, and it's like, oh, it's so refreshing. I mean, but for the most part, Republicans in Hollywood tend to stay quiet, or else they're going to end up deplatformed like, oh, doggone it. His name suddenly eludes me. Oh, don't you just hate that when you're talking about something? I'm actually having to Google this right now. for conservative views. Yeah, I can't even find his name. Doggone it. But yeah, it's James Woods. There it is. Oh my God, that was, ladies and gentlemen, that is a minute and 30 seconds of your time that you will never get back. And for that, I apologize.
No, you look like an idiot.
Yeah, I know. Have a point. If you think you might possibly reference someone, know who you're going to reference in advance. That way you don't spend a minute and a half trying to find James Woods' name. Oi. Do you love what you hear on the Relentless Daring podcast? Do you want to show the world your support for this podcast? This is Tyler from Relentless Daring, asking you to go to shop.spreadshirt.com/relentlessdaring and check out our merchandise there. We have t-shirts, hoodies, hats, coffee cups, travel mugs. Go there, check it out, and use it to show the world your love of this podcast. And as always, stay relentless. All right, getting back into it. So I mentioned a crime in space. Yeah, this is like a crazy story. It's like I haven't seen a whole lot of traction on it, but that was worth talking about. So this is an article it's from The Blaze. Headline: Decorated NASA astronaut accused of committing the first ever crime in space. Oh yeah, folks, if you haven't noticed, I'm getting my money's worth out of this silly soundboard on my iPad. And there's doors opening somewhere in the house. I don't know if you can hear it, but they're stalking me. Anyways, yeah, I know. Folks, welcome to the way my mind works, where it's like, ooh, look, squirrel, and you guys just have to go with it. Anyways, it's funny because the headline for this is, the decorated NASA astronaut accused of committing first ever crime in space. And then the little tagline underneath it: there is literally no precedent. So, turns out Anne McClain, a decorated NASA astronaut who has spent more than 200 days in space, this is reading from the article, by the way, now she stands accused of committing the first ever crime in space. Now, my question is, who has jurisdiction? I mean, if she's on the International Space Station, if she's in the Russian wing when she did her crime, does she get prosecuted by the Russians? Is it not technically a crime at all because it happened literally 100,000 miles outside of any jurisdiction? Is she prosecuted by the Americans because that's where her estranged spouse was? These are little things you have to think about. And, it's definitely worth the thought. So anyways, reading back from the article, McClain's estranged spouse, former Air Force intelligence officer Summer Warden, has filed complaints with the Federal Trade Commission and NASA's Office of Inspector General, accusing McClain of identity theft and improperly accessing her private financial information, the New York Times reported. The alleged crimes took place during McClain's recent 6-month mission at the International Space Station. So this is where, like I said, you have the slight legal quandary of who gets jurisdiction. Depending on what country's portion of the space station, are they the ones who can prosecute you? Because frankly, I wouldn't want the Russian side prosecuting me, because I would end up in a gulag archipelago somewhere because, well, Russians just kind of have a bad history of making people go away. And if the Singaporeans had a section of the space station, which I'm sure would be tiny, just like their little city state, you commit a crime while in their portion, you're going to get caned. That leads to the next question. Does a caning in space hurt as much as it does on Earth? This calls for science to figure out. So that means we need to send Singaporean law enforcement into space with the bamboo canes and send them some criminals that they can beat the tar out of, and we'll find out, does it hurt more in space? Do you want to do it in space? I mean, I'd imagine getting beaten with a bamboo rod, there might be some blood. And I don't think you want the blood floating around the space station. It might get into the tiny cracks, crevices, and there's no telling what it could do. Anyways, I digress. Warden told the Times she learned McClain accessed her accounts because McClain had intimate knowledge of her spending. To confirm her suspicions, Warden had her bank locate computers that had access to her account. One such access point came from a computer registered with NASA. Well, here's the... Now, if they were married at the time, most states recognize, marriage as one of those times where you can access each other's bank accounts because it's, community property in the eyes of the law. I mean, were they estranged at the time? I mean, if they were estranged at the time, they were still technically married. And if some Joe in Michigan wins the lottery and his wife, who had been separated from him for 3 years, can successfully convince a judge that she is as entitled to half those earnings as if they'd been living together in matrimonial bliss for the past 30 years, I mean, who's to say that this won't get thrown out? Because, well, regardless if you live together or not, you're married and she has as much a right to look into your stuff as you have a right to look into hers. Until that divorce goes through, yeah, you're kind of stuck with it. But anyways, McCain, who returned to Earth on June 24th, denies any wrongdoing, although she admitted in a sworn interview last week that she did access the account from space. McClain's lawyer said, Rusty Hardin, he told the Times, quote, she strenuously denies that she did anything improper, end quote. And again, this is one of those things that you kind of have to take it with the grain of salt because you really just don't know. This is why we have due process, because let a prosecutor determine, is there enough evidence there to get a grand jury to say, yeah, we think a crime may have been committed, so we want a jury to actually hear this out. And then go and issue the indictment. Or is the grand jury going to go, wait, what? No, they were still legally married. They can access each other's bank accounts all they want. If they want to gripe, moan about spending, that's a that's an interpersonal problem that should probably be worked out with, I don't know, a therapist, a mediator, a counselor, somebody who can sit and go, you know what? Here's why they're going to explain to you why they're concerned about your spending, and then you're going to explain back to them why you're spending so damn much money. But hey, what do I know? I'm just a dumb grunt. But McLean and Hardin are in the midst of a heated custody battle over their 6-year-old son, who was conceived via in vitro fertilization carried by surrogate. I don't know why that piece. All right. Blaze author Chris Enlow. Was that piece really necessary? Who cares about how the child was conceived? The fact is they have a child. No one cares that the child was carried via surrogate. Are we going to drag the surrogate into the middle of the story now? You mentioned her. Might as well. Anyways, going back to the article, their divorce is set to be finalized in October. It's September. They still have at least 30 days. At least 30 days. NASA was reached for comment on all of it, and we don't discuss personal or personnel matters. However, she did an outstanding job, and she's a candidate for a future ISS mission. Yippee. And again, this is one of those things where it's really going to come down to where everything is filed at. I mean, maybe they go to a state where individuals going into a marriage, they have a reasonable right to financial privacy. So if Bob wants to have a checking account separate from his wife, that is his prerogative, and he has no legal requirement to share with her that information. I don't know. I've been married for, easy to carry the math, -3, 16 years. And all that time, we've had 2 running checking accounts. And guess what? Both our names are on those accounts. Because that's the way we were brought up, is that, you're married, everything goes together, including your finances. And you start separating your finances, and you start calling into question, expenditures, especially if you slip in and, look at what they're spending. Why did she spend $30 at Victoria's Secret? Is she cheating on me? And then you can't ask about it, because then she knows you've been snooping through the finances. Oh my God. He dropped $600 at Bass Pro Shop. Did he go buy the cheapest AR-15? Is he going to kill everybody I know with it? Again, his finances are separate from hers. So, she kind of freaks out as she sneaks into looking at his pocketbook and sees where he's spending his money at. But again, that's neither here nor there. It's just my observations. But I honestly think this is one of those situations where it's not going to go anywhere, because of the fact that, again, they're married, and most places view bank accounts as joint property. So as long as they're legally married, unless they have a court order that says stay the heck out of it, they still have every right to go into those individual bank accounts and look. It's not pleasant, but it's just the way it is. All right, so something that flared up over this weekend, and it's just so dumb it bears repeating. To quote the great Bill Engvall. So years and years ago, a man went big game hunting in Africa. And he shot himself a nice bull elephant. You see this thing is got the great big long tusks, the big floppy ears. It's a beautiful animal. And he killed it. Oh boy. Because, well, hunting is bad. They killed the poor, majestic elephant. Why? Yeah, well, here's the thing. The hunting in Africa is not exactly what everyone thinks it is. It is incredibly expensive for a reason. When I say incredibly expensive, I mean prohibitively expensive. The people who go over and hunt big game in Africa are independently wealthy for through some means or another. These are business owners, doctors, lawyers, people who inherited money, actors. Well, no, there's not going to be actors. Ted Nugent. These are the people who hunt in Africa. And in this case, it's a business owner, the owner of Jimmy John's, home of the Freaky Fast Sandwich. No, this is not a paid endorsement, but I do love me some Jimmy John's. But, yeah, this is years and years ago. He went to Africa, and he shot a bull elephant. Killed it. Damn fine achievement, if I do say so myself. And the picture of him posing with the elephant, being all super excited, I started making the rounds on Twitter yet again. With Twitter user Brother Nature calling for an all-out boycott of Jimmy John's. Why for an old picture? And I'm going to explain the real reason why it irks me off, and think in the details. I want to include the link to a YouTube video from True TV and the show Adam Ruins Everything. Now, I understand. I've watched this show on multiple occasions. Adam Conover does, well, not necessarily him, but his researchers, they do have a tendency to miss things, to not pick up on certain themes while they're doing their research and they're helping Adam write the script for the show. I understand that. I also understand he probably has a certain ideological bent that shapes his worldview. And based on some of his episodes, I'm more than willing to bet that he tends to lean towards the progressive side of the spectrum. Nothing wrong with that. And then I see his episode on big game hunting in Africa, and wow. Like I said, I'm going to include the link to that episode because, yeah, there's been stuff where he has been wrong. His takedown of the Electoral College is laughable, and not in the fact that, it's on True TV and billed as a comedy show. That's not why it's laughable. It's just dumb. But no, going into this scenario of big game hunting, he's really spot on. So I am what they call a conservationist. I believe that, as God gave mankind domain over all the animals of the air, the land, and the sea, as well as dominion over the air, land, and sea itself, or themselves. Wow. I'm totally trying to figure out grammar in my head right now. I've lost my mind. But, as God gave us dominion over those realms, the sea, land, and air, and all the animals that inhabit them, I have no issue with hunting them. However, the conservationist in me understands that if you go and kill all the deer in a 5 square mile radius, or a 5 square mile area, you're going to have some severe ecologic outcomes because of it. And in all 50 states of the Union, if you choose to hunt, you have to go on bended knee to the state government and request a permit. There's no guarantee that you'll get one, because hunting is not considered an unalienable right. It is a privilege. I can tell you it's a privilege because it happens all the time when a person gets convicted of poaching and they lose their privilege to hunt for anywhere from 12 months to life. Yeah, you kill enough deer out of season, they will take your hunting privileges for life. Good job. I appreciate that. More deer for me. But you pay the tax to the state, which you get a tag. Of course, now, like the state of Missouri, you can get a digital tag, so you don't actually have to tag a deer. You don't have to take it to a check station, where they write the number for the tag down and log it. You just do it online. Punch in the numbers for your tag and submit your check-in, and boom. So much easier. You only have to leave deer camp if you don't have cell service. But in the events of what goes on with Africa, it's the same thing. Except it's not state governments. It's not, big S state. It's not the nation that's selling the permits. It's villages. Because you'll have a village who their sole job is to maintain the preserve. Some of these preserves are hundreds of thousands of acres. They're huge. And so they have, like I said, because they have to maintain these preserves, they also have to maintain the ecological balance. So if they notice that they're starting to get too many bull elephants, and that one over there, he's old, he's really not eating a whole lot, I don't think he's impregnated a female elephant in 2.5, 3 years. They get elephants like that, or lions who are becoming particularly aggressive towards people, or going back to elephants, they've maybe attacked some of the wardens while they're out checking on the different populations within the preserve. So there's a reason why they say, okay, we have too many bull elephants, we have too many cow elephants, so here's the criteria we will put out to the guides. So now you have a guy paying $5,000 to $10,000 for the privilege in Africa to hunt an elephant. Okay, so there's, well, I'll split the difference. I'll call it $7,500. He spent $7,500 to that village because they're in charge of maintaining the ecologic balance of the preserve. And this elephant, they need it to go. So he flies over. He needs a guide to take him, so he probably pays another $10,000. So now he's out $1,750 or $17,500 for his hunt. And the money he pays the guide, as well as that ticket, as well as that permit, that's money that goes back into the economy of that African village. And in turn, it can be used towards infrastructure for the village. It can be used, in a plethora of ways to improve livelihoods in that village. They can turn around, they can invest that in a business venture to make more money off of hunters. Dang. Who would have thought it? Money actually doing good. So now he's dumped all this money into the village that's going to be used to improve the village in some way, shape, or form. And then he goes out and he takes the elephant. Well, we kind of have this rule in the United States about importing meats, that weren't processed through a government-regulated butcher or processing plant. So he really can't bring the whole elephant home, or it's going to play hell trying to bring the fake tusks, because this thing had a beautiful set of tusks. They had to be 6-7 feet long. And you obviously can't import the ivory. So the ivory from those tusks, that's going to get carved up and sold legally. Again, capitalism bringing more money into this village through the killing of an elephant. And then the meat is going to get butchered up, and it's going to be, distributed some way. I'm going to assume, getting a little kind of welfare, but I do agree with it because I look at it as charity because he's donating this food, and it's going to go to the village, and it's going to feed the entire village for a long time, or it's going to be held and stored and divvied up to families. Maybe they tried running a crop that didn't take. Maybe that crop was rooted out by the elephant they just got killed. Who knows? But anyways, so the meat, so you have food staying in the village. You have all of this money. Maybe the next village is going through a drought and it needs food because all of their cattle dried up and died. We can go over here to East African village, and they have plenty of meat from where that American killed the elephant. It makes food available during hard times. But everyone wants to blow the owner of Jimmy John's out of the water because, oh my God, he killed a freaking elephant. And the same thing there's that girl, she's a bow hunter, and she killed a lion with a freaking bow and arrow. No, just stop. Let you ruminate on that one for a minute. She stalked a lion, got within between 30 and 50 yards of a large, dangerous cat that could literally rip her face off, and she killed it with a bow and arrow. I'm sorry, but I'm calling for a ball check because she has got a bigger, shinier pair than I do to get that close to a lion and kill it with a bow and freaking arrow. Damn. But yeah, it's like people all over Facebook. I'm sure I haven't really seen it on Facebook, Twitter for sure, just ripping this guy apart because, oh my God, he killed an elephant. Why, God, why? Well, I don't know, because he wanted to. He had the money. Maybe he understood where his money goes when he wants to hunt big game in Africa, which is something he says he hasn't done in almost 4 years, by the way. But just giving him, the possibility. But, he has done all kinds of economic good at the cost of a single elephant. But there are those who say the elephant is worth more than any economic good. Forget people who are living in squalor. Forget the people who are living in poverty who's, could see everything change with the purchase of just the tag. Forget paying even the guide. But the left would rather see them suffer than lose one elephant under very, very strict, very, very, very controlled conditions. Well, that's going to do it for this episode. Again, I want to thank you so very much. Thank you for listening. If you want to continue to support the podcast, go to patreon.com/relentlessdaring1 and you can join up there. There's multiple tiers for however you want to support. Anthony, thank you so very much for your monthly contribution. It is getting put to good use, I think, as long as I keep my wife out of that darn bank account. I set that up so she wouldn't know about it, but she gets into it all the time. No, I'm joking, but no, really. But no, thank you again. If you want to go to Patreon and support this, it helps go into production equipment. It helps go into hopefully trying to get the website going. I'm working on it. If you follow me on social media, go to on Twitter, at Real Tyler Morgan, or at Daring Podcast. Go there, and in my profile, there's the link to the webpage. There's really not a whole lot going on there right now, but the podcasts are available there, so if you want to listen to it on your computer and you don't want to have to dig out your phone or whatever that you've got subscribed on, if you're already on Twitter, link over to the website. Again, I hope to have www.relentlessdaring.com up and running as an actual URL soon. Again, that depends on the support of people like you. Also, go to shop.spreadshirt.com/relentless-daring and buy merch there. Or if you're already going to the or if you're already linking over to the website in my Twitter profile, guess what? You can link over to the page directly off of my webpage. So go there, t-shirts, hoodies, coffee cups, travel mugs. If it's something that Spreadshirt makes, then I will gladly sell it. I will. Right now, again, I have the Truth, Justice, Jackassery design. I have the new Relentless Daring, the RD logo flag that's available. A couple people have already bought those, tweeted me pictures of them. That's freaking awesome. Thank you so very much. And if you're hearing a barking squirrel in the background, that's because, again, I mentioned there's a whole bunch of teenage girls in this house, and my wife's chihuahua is not very happy with them. I don't know why. She cannot do anything to hurt them because she only weighs 3 pounds. Again, thank you for listening. It's your first time hearing it. Be sure to go to, if you're listening to it on iTunes, 4 things. Four simple things for listening on iTunes. Number 1, smash that subscribe button. Get new episodes published weekly, unless something comes up that keeps me from recording. But I will let you know on Twitter. Follow me on Twitter at Daring Podcast or at Real Tyler Morgan. Anyways, on iTunes, you smash that subscribe button. You rate it. You review it. That's 2 and 3. And number 4, the most important one, share it. Share it with a friend who, maybe I want to hear someone discussing politics in a way that maybe, they're not some smart, educated fool. They're a dumb fool like me, and they think like a layman. Hey, share my podcast with them. Be sure to get the word out there because, again, I know none of y'all need me. Frankly, I don't need any of you. I do this because it's something I want to do. And the more y'all support me, the greater it is, the better I can make it. And again, thank you all so much for listening. Don't forget, this is also available not only on iTunes, Google Play, Stitcher, Spotify. My gracious host over at podbean.com. Thank you for taking my money every month. That way I don't have to delete episodes. Again, YouTube. Name a place that doesn't carry my podcast, and I will do what I can to get it on there. Again, thank you all so very much for listening. And as always, stay relentless.